Hangouts Air is live. So we're live, everybody. So welcome to Hacks Chat, another edition. I'm your host, Thibert. I have over 300 hours. I have 3 years invested in the comics industry. 30 years invested in the comics industry for Marvel and DC. Worked on Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, you name it. I've probably worked on it. So with us, we have Taylor Grosso. Say hi, Taylor.
Hi, everyone. I miss saying the live part now.
Yes. Yeah, it's weird for me to lead. And we have John Davies.
Hey, how's it going?
It be going good. So, so Taylor works with me here at Hack Shack Studios, and we do artwork together and we write together. So she's a brilliant writer, and
Aw.
yeah, so that's her backstory. And then we have John, who is a Hack Shack alumnus, inker, penciler, and aspiring artist right now. Right, John? You're still trying to kind of get your footing in the industry or back in the industry?
I'm back in the industry, keeping it alive.
Yeah, cool.
So,
Which con did you went to a con over the weekend, didn't you?
Cincinnati.
Well, tell us about that.
It's a pretty cool little expo up in Cincinnati, Ohio there. And just a lot of great creators from the areas were there, and a few friends of mine that own comic shops and such were up there. Uh, it's a blast. It's relatively the size of what WonderCon is in Anaheim.
Oh, that's a big show.
Yeah, that is big.
Yeah, it's pretty decent size. Yeah, and it lasts 3 days.
So what was the high points and who were the standouts? Who were the stars of the show? I mean, besides you.
Yeah. Let me refresh myself here. I would say Artist Alley is where I really gravitate towards, and it's a lot of great creators are there, and they get overlooked, by all the big time fluff and stuff with that they do at these shows.
So like Hollywood fluff and stuff, or what kind of fluff and stuff?
Yeah, like just the Hollywood stuff. Just all these shows really get the big time actors to come through.
Oh, okay. I didn't think that far.
All of them do. Even
they all
up
do
in
now.
Chicago. Yeah, they hire them in for the shows and such. And
I always think
and
it
it's
was a
cool.
California thing.
No,
Yeah, so do I. Yeah.
No, even when you do Chicago and like Memphis and all the little wizard worlds around, they get all the stars and such. So, like, LeVar Burton was there, Star Trek. A lot of, and then when you get into the Midwest shows, wrestling's huge. So remember when we did Kansas City, they had the wrestling thing going on there.
Yeah.
Same thing with all these other Midwest shows, like the Cincinnati Comic Con. It has all these stars, the wrestling stars show up and stuff. So
it's a little bit for everybody. I want to talk. I'm just going to tease this, and then we can keep talking. But we're going to talk about the Captain Marvel trailer a little bit. And the whole reason we did this is because Taylor has a couple thoughts, and it's all coming from a place of love, right, Taylor?
I used to be a huge fan of Captain Marvel when she was Miss Marvel. So I like to think so.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into that, and it's gonna be fun because
Oh,
all
gosh.
morning is all Taylor's been talking about. And I told her, I go, just save it for the show. We'll do a show. We'll get John in here, and we'll just have a good talk about the Captain Marvel movie trailer. So keep going, John, about the convention this past weekend.
okay, so they had the voice actors for G.I. Joe there.
Go Joe.
Yeah. Greg Clark from the Avengers and Shield. So
So who were the big comic book talents that were there?
Or were there any?
Ashley Witter flew in there.
Cool.
Her and Ash. The cool thing, I don't know if anybody likes the Harry Potter, but they had like this Harry Potter Extra Midwest Muggle Fest thing there. Yeah, it's like a geek prom, you know. So it's pretty cool with all that stuff.
Well, I mean, who were the comic book standout stars? Not the TV or film or. Once again, other than yourself.
Yeah.
I just want to know if I should go next year.
Oh, definitely go. Let me see here.
What are you looking at, the name?
The itinerary.
Yeah.
I just figured you were like hanging and you knew all these guys off the top of your head.
I forget a lot of stuff when I'm done. That's it. I move on. I'm on the next project, next things, you know.
I hear you. Well, anyway, so Artist Alley was booming. You did good. You made a bunch of ducats and drew a lot of pictures for people.
I go in and it's a lot of meet and greet with people, you know, other than just the fans, but with other creators and such.
Networking.
So, yeah.
Other creators that John doesn't remember.
They, you know, sometimes you get starstruck. So
I hear you.
Mike Zeck was there.
Well, there you go. There's a name.
Yeah, so you know, you could put like Mike Zeck and then Art Thibert next to him.
Oh man,
that'd be great. You know,
I would love to ink Zeck in the day. That would have been amazing.
You never inked Zeck?
No, I never did. I think was it John Beatty who inked him in the day? He inked himself, and then I think John Beatty mostly inked him.
Obviously, Neil and Joel Adams.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Neil's known in this industry.
Yeah, a little bit. Some places.
Just a tad.
Yeah. There's this guy, L. Joe Benitez.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah. And obviously, wherever Neil is, you're going to get a little bit of Buzz.
Buzz Lightyear? Who's Buzz?
Buzz. Adderall.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it a name of somebody, or you mean like Buzz, like attention, like
No, that's his name, Buzz. Yeah.
Buzz.
Yeah.
Oh.
Some writer named J.M. DeMatis.
Oh.
So, yeah.
That guy's talented.
Yeah. He's known in circles.
He's got some gifts.
Tom Grummett, you know.
Ooh, I like Tom.
You know, let me think some more. My all-time favorite when I was a little kid, Rick Leonardi.
Oh my God. Okay.
Nice.
Rick is one of the guys I really want to ink. I really, really do. I think it would be a challenge, but I think I could bring a lot to his work because I have a lot of enthusiasm for his work, and he's a little sketchy.
Yes.
And I think it would be a good blend. I'd go in there and like tighten it up a little bit, structure it up a little bit, and give people a different Leonardi. Because I think, you know, he does great work. His layouts are amazing, and his power, like just the poses and all the action shots are amazing. So I always just thought the superficial, like the inks, like, you know, that stuff, if you had a better look, like the style's there, but just tighten it up a little bit, I think would be amazing. So if anybody's listening and knows Rick Leonardi, tell him I'm gunning for him.
Yeah, so when I was little, reading comics many moons ago, he was really a huge influence in when I was starting to draw, you know, as a little kid. And I was like, that's why I still have a lot of that sketchiness in my work is because of him. So
was it his X-Men work? What was the work?
I really loved his what was their names? They have the TV show now.
Not Hawk and Dove.
No.
Joe. It's two characters?
Yes.
Oh, I know who you're talking. Cloak and Dagger.
Cloak and Dagger. Yes. I'm sorry. I draw blanks on
Oh, the ones
stuff.
with the new show.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. When he did those.
Yeah. Who inked? Was it? Because at some point wasn't
And when he did the Spider-Man 2099, I was like stoked.
that
Yes.
stuff was that stuff was
Yeah.
great. The Spider-Man, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Was
so
Terry
stoked.
Austin inking Cloak and Dagger? If anybody in the chat can remember, they'll get a Cyber Frog. Do we have a chat, Taylor, going or?
We do. I'm reading it right now.
Okay. You guys feel free to chime in.
They're chiming in about the Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah. So who inked Rick Leonardo? Anybody? If they come up with it, they'll get a Cyberbuck, a frog dollar. And what that is, it's this fun little thing we do. So if you help us out, because obviously John's memory isn't that good, but mine is horrible.
I mean, we're older guys, so we've been around.
Yeah. So if you guys help us out, then send us your email through my Art by Thibert site. You can
Yeah, there's a there's a
Go
contact sheet through there. So if you go through the contact sheet and claim your frog buck, Art will send you that Cyber Frog buck. But
Yeah.
you got to come up with the name.
Yeah. Well, who was it? Was it Terry Austin? I just want to know if I'm right or wrong. Because it was tight, right? It was tightly inked.
Yes.
A little more than
if it wasn't him, probably Bob McLeod or what's his name? One of those other great inkers back in the day.
Bob
Layton, yeah. Oh gosh. Anyways, if it was Terry Austin, he inked everybody. Anyways.
Yeah, but I just remember it being somebody that structured the heck out of it, and it looked pretty amazing. And Terry's a structuralist, structuralist, yeah. And I've been drinking all day,
so we're good.
So we're good. No, I haven't.
Yeah. Sia Ohm was there.
Okay.
Yeah, and also Peter. So Steigerwald.
A little talent there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're doing some stuff.
A great last name.
Yes, let's turn this over. I can't wait to hear Taylor talk about this.
I'm chomping at the bit.
I'm chomping. So I'm gonna try my old man knowledge of the computer, and I'm driving the ship here. So I'm gonna try to get over to the trailer and let you guys know, and then get some comments. Okay, so I hit this button, and then I hit this button, and then I hit this button. Are we there? Are we there?
I see it. I see the trailer.
All right, I did it. Okay, I don't think we can show too much of this. I think we get in trouble. So I'll let Taylor talk a little bit, and then.
You want me to talk over this?
Yeah, I'll just kind of. I don't know. Do you want to go? Do you want to go tit for tat with the trailer, or do you just want to talk about it and then talk about the trailer? Or
let's play it first. Yeah. Oh wait, I think we're off screen share.
How do we get off screen share?
There we go. We're back. Okay.
Okay. So can I show this? Will we get in trouble on YouTube?
We should be fine as long as there's not a lot of sound.
Okay, I'll turn down the sound then. So we'll listen to it blink.
All right, let's play it once through.
Okay. So this part of the video I really like. I think that's pretty cool. It's intriguing. And then we cut inside. There she is. In the blockbuster video. So she's not.
Hang on a second. Are you guys seeing the trailer? Because I see it on my screen.
Yes.
Are you seeing it, John?
Yes.
Yeah, but I want to make sure that they can see it. Because if the window is in front.
I have the YouTube channel up.
Okay. All right. So they're seeing it.
Okay. So she's out of time. So, well, this is the 90s. So she's from some other place. Crash land on Earth. So I imagine this is S.H.I.E.L.D. of the 90s. Is that what this is supposed to be, the 90s?
Yeah.
That was a good decade.
Everybody loves the 90s.
This is the best reveal right here. Boom. Man, that looks so good. There he is, Sam Jackson. We still have to wait some time for this next year. The Right Stuff.
Look, just like Hal Jordan, but a girl.
And a little girl, she turns into two different girls when she falls.
Oh my gosh, it's the Star Force.
A hero. And
Oh,
she's an
look,
old lady.
isn't that so funny? Doesn't everybody just want to turn that into a meme and talk about it forever?
Yeah, but I don't know. I'll talk about it, but this part right here and that part is the best part of this trailer for me.
There's the part that's going to make me spurg out coming up soon. Right there. Her nose isn't aligned. Oh my gosh, drives you crazy. Sorry, everybody.
Okay. Not bad. Logo's cool. Okay, so that's it. So, where do we go from here? I don't want to get in trouble. So, do we play it again? Should I just...
Let's hear Taylor.
Okay.
I want to hear what she has to say.
They've all seen it. We don't have to play it again. Let's not tempt YouTube to
Okay.
cut this out of our video. So everybody here, I assume, has seen the trailer.
Are we back now?
We're back.
Okay. So there's no trailer that you guys are seeing?
No.
Okay.
Firewatcher says, I just watched EVS do this trailer. I feel like I'm drowning in Brie Larson. Where do we start? Well, what are you, like, first of all, what are your guys' thoughts?
Okay, should we like just break down like our pros and cons of the trailer, and then you can go into your detailed thoughts about your love for the character and what Marvel's done with the character?
Yeah, let's do that. And it is, I know it's just a teaser, so.
Okay, I'm gonna start. So, overall, it looks pretty good. I like the opening scene with the blockbuster. I think that's it's like, what the heck's going on? What, like, it just asks a lot of questions. And then when she's in the middle of like the subway station and she's just like, how did I get here? Where am I? And all the people are just kind of walking by her. It's pretty cool. For me, though, personally, I think the Sam Jackson beat with Nick Fury and the Agent Coulson thing steals the entire trailer for me. I think those are the high points of the trailer, which is pretty sad because we're supposed to like the Captain Marvel character. But I think the cooler beats for me are those two, seeing Fury and Colton again, or Coulson. Yeah, and I think the digital work on those guys looks pretty phenomenal. At least in those two scenes, they look pretty cool. So, actually, weirdly, that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is just seeing those guys and how they interact with her versus even just seeing Captain Marvel. So, John, what do you think?
As with every Marvel movie so far, they've been getting better and better. So it's like the anticipation to what is the next greatest movie going to be. And I'm sure a lot of people have seen that they just step it up. This one, I feel that it falls back a little bit.
Yeah.
So there is a flattening here, and I'm hoping I'm kind of wrong on all this, but from what we see in your trailers are supposed to be your big shots to like pumping everybody up to go see it, and it just didn't have it there with it. And I think their biggest thing that Marvel has done has casted everybody correctly, and this one I think they may have missed on this.
With the main character?
Yeah, with Brie Larson.
Brie Larson.
Yeah. I don't know if she went to the same acting school as Kristen Stewart did, where it's flat-faced and no emotion, but that's where she's at.
John, she can't help the flat face.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Just the way she was born.
Oh.
But for the most part, I agree. Like, I don't want to see anything tank because I love all these Marvel movies, and I want every one of them to succeed. But so far, like, overall, this one didn't really do too much for me. Like when the last three, always had a beat that I was like, that's amazing. So Panther, Infinity, and even Ant-Man, there was some cool beats in the trailer that made me want to see the movie. This one kind of looks a little HBO-ish to me. It
Yes.
looks a little cable-y to me. It doesn't look big screen to me. Even when she powers up at the end or whatever that is, it's still like you've seen it a lot, and if this is the payoff, I'm not really, I know this is probably more of a, well, it says official trailer, so it's not a teaser.
Oh no.
Yeah. And she flies. Like, I was thinking, shouldn't we have some flight scenes, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
that
that
would be
was a
cool.
disappointment.
Yeah.
yeah. At least some badass action, you know, with her as
Yeah.
Captain Marvel. So,
Yeah.
and no,
I'm
I mean
sure
the only
they'll. Oh, go ahead.
the only action we've seen was her hitting an old lady.
Oh God. Whoever cut that into the trailer is an idiot. Like
Yeah.
as soon as that happened, I was like, I know what they're going for because, everybody who knows can be like, "Oh, it's a scroll. It's crazy." But like
A
the fact
spoiler alert.
the fact that they didn't deliver on it, like, and the way it's cut, I'm like, that's just gonna be a dumb meme that is gonna swamp the internet. And like, I called that thing the second it happened, which, it's not that tough of a call to make, but that stupid GIF is everywhere now. And I'm like, is this really funny enough to be meme worthy?
Okay, I told you guys she's fired up. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think John and I said our piece. Let's just turn this over to Taylor.
I mean,
First the video, and then yeah.
okay. So when it first like dropped, I figured since it was like a teaser trailer and it wasn't a full trailer that I'd like hold back my judgment and not be that harsh with it. But me and Art were kind of talking about like around San Diego time, we were kind of getting nervous about this movie because Marvel was so quiet about it. So like there were really high expectations about the trailer and stuff, I think, because that was their next big push and there was like no Captain Marvel stuff at San Diego and there was no promotional stuff anywhere. So I was already nervous. And then that teaser dropped and I thought that it was just really underwhelming. Like, I don't know, the Captain America teaser, like there were people saying dumb things about that when it came out and like saying that Chris Evans looked stupid because he was like running in normal clothes in one scene. And I didn't want to be that person, but like it was just super underwhelming. And then they didn't show her flying, and then we see her like shoot energy, and like you said, it looked kind of like HBO, like it looked really kind of tacky. And as soon as I saw that old lady scene, I was just like, oh great, this is gonna be everywhere. Like this is what's gonna the whole teaser is gonna be known as now. And sure enough, it's everywhere. And people are playing dumb like, oh my gosh, she's hitting an old lady like every time.
Well, that's what they're hoping for, right? So they're gonna tease it here, and everybody's gonna get, ooh, what's going on? Why would she hit an old lady? And then the next trailer, they're gonna show the old lady like, morph into a scroll or something, right?
Yeah, and I'm just like tired of it already. And the Sam Jackson reveal was pretty cool. Usually when they do those like digital de-aging things, they don't look that great. Like in Tron, it looked kind of weird but like I think in the second Guardians of the Galaxy they did it to Kurt Russell and he looked pretty good.
All the Marvel ones have been done really, really good. The Michael Douglas one in the
Yeah.
Ant-Man movies, and they even did Michelle Pfeiffer, I think, in that one as well, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah, they did a really good job. Like Marvel's been pretty good at that stuff and I thought that Sam Jackson looked pretty good. And that was kind of cool. I'm kind of interested in seeing how he goes from it looks like he's just a standard like cop into I don't know. I don't know if he's like an agent in it or what, but that was kind of interesting. It brought up more interesting questions than what they presented for the main title character they're trying to sell.
Oh,
But
he's a Shield agent in that.
so he's just like a
Yeah.
young Shield agent.
Right, right, and because Coulson is there too,
Oh,
so
that's right. Coulson shows up. I've kind of forgot about Coulson since they put that poor actor on the TV show.
yeah, that's my favorite part of the new Captain Marvel trailer was just those two.
By the way, the people in the chat saying it looks like Green Lantern, what you need to realize is in the comics, she is pretty much Green Lantern. That's not the movie's fault.
Yeah.
Um, it is like, unfortunately, I know a lot about the character. I used to really like her before current age Marvel, so I can assure you that she is Green Lantern mixed with like Marvel Cinematic Universe Star-Lord. That's not their fault. That's who the character is. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of just underwhelming, and I'm in like the minority of not. I don't really have a problem with Brie Larson because she's actually objectively a really good actress. Not, I've never seen her in a superhero movie, so I'm not gonna say she's like a great Captain Marvel, but like she's really good in Room. She's really good in Glass Castles. She's a good actress, but none of those are superhero roles, so I don't know.
Well, she doesn't even have a line in the trailer. She doesn't say anything.
She says, I think I had a life here.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's all she says. So that was my thoughts on the trailer. I was actually like really annoyed, and this is gonna sound very like kind of stupid, but like I posted the trailer on my Facebook, and like a lot of people who have known me long term lived through my like really being into Miss Marvel phase in life. So I posted the trailer and I was like, wow, this is underwhelming. And then other people who like I remember like either giving me crap about liking that character and be like, she's one of the worst Marvel characters. We're like, no, it looks really good. And we're like acting like it was the greatest thing on earth. And I actually had someone like they posted not the trailer, but they posted the I'm not gonna say their name because I hang out with them on a regular basis, but they posted
No, say their name.
a picture of the poster and she posted, I'm crying. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you're crying over a teaser trailer for a Marvel character you don't even like? Like,
Wait a
what are
minute.
you
It
talking
wasn't
about?
even the trailer though. It was the movie poster,
It
right?
was the poster with this
Yeah.
tiny Brie Larson standing in a doorway, and she's like, "I'm crying," and I was just like, "What are you talking about?" Like,
Why was she crying?
I have no idea because I like the only reason you would ever be crying, which there should be no reason why you're crying about this other than abject disappointment. Um, the like it's either you really like the character, or they mean something to you, which at one point was me, or you think that this movie is somehow important, in which case, like, I don't even know how it would be important.
So like a girl power thing, like yeah, girl superhero. So
But like Wonder
she was
Woman came
emotional
out,
about it.
I guess, but like Wonder Woman came out like a year and a half ago. So is this even like a big deal? And also, the person I'm talking about doesn't even read comics or anything. Like, I wouldn't even think she would care.
Yeah, but isn't this the first Marvel Cinematic Universe lead woman character a movie?
I guess, but is that important?
I don't know. Maybe to them it is. You know.
Like, I don't even know who like them it is. Like, I'm the demographic, and I don't even care.
Well, it's not like they haven't had female, superheroes in the Marvel universe before this. Like this is just another female character because I can name a ton.
Oh,
Well, but this
I
is the
understand
first
that.
like lead movie, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
And
she's the lead. Yeah.
she's not a bad character like for that concept. I just don't know how they're gonna do it because the current Captain Marvel, like in the Marvel comics right now, is a very, very different character from like any of her other incarnations. And I was there for when she was binary, so I remember when she was extremely different. But yeah, I don't know. I guess this is an important movie. I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It must just be going right over my head or whatever because I don't see it as that. I just kind of look at it objectively as just another Marvel movie. I don't have any baggage.
Oh,
And
sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna wrap it up, and I was just gonna say that it just seems kind of HBO-ish to me.
Eagle 43 says the inker was Terry Austin. If
I
it
was
was the
right. Yes.
okay, the man during the Mantlo and Leonardi run. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Cool.
does he get the frog dollar?
Yeah,
I
so
don't know.
Eagle.
Does he get the frog dollar if he answers, or does he if I say it and then he agrees with me, do you still get a frog buck?
I mean, technically, you came up with the answer.
Nah, we'll still give him a frog buck. Yeah, go to my Art by Thibert. You can message me through there and send me your info, and I'll send you a frog buck. What the heck? I appreciate your help. I really do.
Someone says it's going to be funny. It's going to be really funny if that grandma turns out not to be a scroll.
Oh my gosh.
That would be hilarious.
She's just punching people willy-nilly.
She's scared. She came from space. She's just like freaking out.
She doesn't know who to trust. You look like a scroll. Plop.
That would be a better twist than it being one.
So do you guys agree or disagree that Wasp is actually the first female lead character? No.
Well, she had the Ant-Man Wasp, so she was in the title.
She was like though. That's not that cool.
You're not going to get it. But I really like that actress. I think that actress is awesome.
She's great, but I hate the comic character Wasp, so I don't want to give it to her either.
Wow.
Yeah, well, the movie one's a really good one.
The movie one's cool, but like the comic Janet is kind of a jerk. Actually, I don't like any of the Marvel female characters right now. Now that I think about it.
I haven't read a Marvel book in years, so I couldn't even comment.
I haven't either in a number of years now. So
yeah, I tried to when they first reintroduced, because I was reading back when Carol Danvers was Miss Marvel. I was reading like a lot of that, and I liked when she was in New Avengers and stuff, and I thought she was really cool. And then they revamped her, and I was horrified because she had a mullet and a mohawk at the same time. And I was like, what is this? And I thought it was so weird because I always, I actually like the black costume that she had with like the lightning bolt on it.
I like that one too. I thought that was cool. With the sash?
Yeah, that's the best one, I think. And I like that she had long hair because when she was like flying, it showed motion because she had her hair in her sash. Because it always looks weird when characters without like cloaks and stuff fly because they don't really have a lot of motion. They just look like they're standing in the air. So I thought it was cool, but then they gave her that weird mullet mohawk, and I think they knew it didn't work because the second that issue dropped, they started making it less and less of a mullet and less of a mohawk and just short hair. So I think even they knew it was really, really ugly.
She wore a mask at one point too, didn't she?
When she'd go into space, her Star-Lord like helmet would come on, but the mohawk would stick out of the top, and it was the most hideous design. It was so ugly.
No. I mean, before that though, she when she had the black outfit with the lightning bolt across it, didn't she wear a black mask? Yeah,
she had a black domino mask. She looked pretty cool, and the sash was red.
That. Yeah, I like that.
It was a great design. I actually really like before that, when she was known as Binary. That was when she showed up in like the 70s, and she looked so cool. She was like, well, I don't know if everybody will think she looked cool, but she was like red, and her hair was like energy that was just like statically out and crazy. And then she wore all white, and she was kind of insane. And she'd talk about her origin story of like, I wanted to be an astronaut, but my father beat me. Like there's a panel where she talks about it, and it's really weird. And she was kind of a crazy character, and they toned her back, and they made her into like Miss Marvel, and then they were just like, this isn't enough, and they gave her a mullet and a mohawk and major daddy issues. Like she had the daddy issues of Binary, but not like the stoic responsibility of Miss Marvel. So she was kind of a militant jerk with a mullet, and nobody liked that. And that's what they chose to go with. And that's who she is now.
The Marvel has a Captain Marvel, which is this character that we're talking about. But then there is another Miss Marvel, right?
Yeah, there was. This is so weird because there was another Captain Marvel who was Marvel, and he's like tied into her origin story. So he's just gone. She became Captain Marvel, and then the name Miss Marvel went to Kamala Khan, who's the little girl that has
the rubber arms.
The rubber arm.
The big hand.
Yeah. So that was great. And
It's
then
Okay.
she kind of has a sash design, but it's more in like a neckerchief or
yeah, it's a
or a scarf.
scarf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she just
Yeah.
wears like a shirt with a lightning bolt on it or something. Because
Uh,
that's something
and
that looks
go-go
really
boots, right?
cool.
She just has like go-go boots.
She does. She does have go-go boots.
That's kind of cool, though.
So Perth
Uh,
Comics says she became binary after Rogue stole her powers.
and it was cool. Yeah, she was totally crazy during that time, and that was my favorite. And like she when she uses her powers, like she like absorbs photonic energy and redirects it, she turns into binary. And that's what you see at the end of the trailer, I think, where her eyeballs are all glowing and stuff. But the cool thing is like in the comics for like a while when she'd go binary, like whoever was inking like her at the time, they'd ink her like fully black and her eyes and mouth would be white and there'd be like little like energy particles around and it looked and her hair was just like energy and it was really really cool,
Oh,
but she
like a
doesn't do
negative,
that
like they
anymore.
did like a negative where the instead of the open areas being white, they're black, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was really cool. I liked it. She'd do that a lot when she was in space. And I remember like as a kid, I think when I was like looking at her, she was binary and she was kind of a bad guy and I thought she looked really cool.
Isn't
Okay,
that
Kate. Oh, go ahead, John.
isn't that kind of like at the near the end of that trailer? It kind of looks like that.
Yeah, that's what I believe she's doing in that. They didn't make her hair because the coolest thing is her hair like lifts up and becomes all like energy and it looks neat. It looks like they're kind of hinting at that, which I hope they do because that's one of her more unique aspects. Because if not, she's kind of just Green Lantern without a ring.
Okay, so like uh, Perth Comics said, Rogue took her powers and she became binary. Would that be cool if Rogue was introduced into this storyline also at some, like a subplot thing?
I don't know. I think as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they have some heavy lifting to do
Yeah.
before they introduce just Rogue. But maybe down the line, once they've introduced the X-Men to the new universe.
Well, I mean, they introduced since they brought in like I almost called her, yeah, Scarlet Witch. I almost called her Scarlett Johansson. Since they introduced Scarlet Witch as like just kind of well, she was in the Avengers, so it's a little different. But I guess they could introduce like Rogue without her being attached to the X-Men yet. It'd be weird to do in her origin story though, because I think the origin story they're following now is like the most she's had Captain Marvel's had so many different like they've reinvented that character so many times like whether they found something that worked and they still reinvented it for some reason like she has a lot of conflicting backstory stuff and I think they're going with the most current one because at San Diego they re-released an issue one that retold her origin story and boy let me tell you it was weird and I think that's what they're going for and if they tried to put another character like Rogue in it, oh boy, would it be even weirder.
Well, do you think that with all because that's kind of why we titled um, this this episode what we did is do you think that the cinematic universe is going to be able to bring sanity to all those different versions of the comic book character through the years because it seems like Marvel itself they didn't even really know what to do with the character and yet here we are introducing her in the cinematic universe.
I think they're going to, yeah, I think so. And I think one of the ways they're going to do that is they'll probably have Kamala Khan have some kind of cameo. Like, because she's like, it's really
Huh.
weird. She's like Captain Marvel's little buddy. But before New Avengers, Captain Marvel's little buddy was Spider Woman. And that was hilarious and awesome. But they won't do that because that'll be there. I think that Kamala Khan has a I don't want to say she has a big fan base because I don't think she has a lot of readership, but she's kind of a more current character. And if they're going to push any character in there while also kind of like keeping the Miss Marvel title alive, I think they'll have her appear in the movie.
Hey, John. Speaking of mutants and stuff like that, and possibly bringing Rogue in. Did you ever hear my way of bringing mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
No, I didn't. You want
Okay.
to elaborate on that?
This is a
Yeah.
good one.
I think it would be cool if you think about it just in a cinematic universe, but don't think about it in context of like any of the comic book stuff, because this is not going to follow any of that. So I always thought, and the industry used to talk about this as well, but I always thought this was a cool idea, that what if Bruce Banner, the Hulk, is a mutant? So what if the reason Bruce Banner didn't die in the blast is because he was a mutant already, and so it was like that, like latent mutant, gene. Like it wasn't, it wasn't active. But once the bomb went off, like there was always this Jekyll and Hyde thing. That was his mutant power, and so when the bomb went off, it activated this other personality that was there, this other, like this mutant personality, and so then it came out and saved Bruce Banner's life. So in essence, he's a mutant, but didn't know, like all those years and stuff like that. He never knew why he survived, and there weren't a lot of other mutants around to even like where he could talk or see or understand that there are these other entities, these other people, this evolution of people. And so we have basically the cast that we have the cinematic universe. So I was thinking that he starts looking into it, and then scientifically, and he figures it out. He's like, nah, there's something else. Like there's a higher gene in here. There's like this mutated gene that I have that no one else has. So he figures it out. He finally Bruce Banner figures out what the heck happened, right? They've never really, it's like, why did he turn into the Hulk? How did that all come about? He should have been killed. And so I know that the origin is a little different cinematically, but it could still work with the gamma radiation and all that other stuff. And so he hears about this guy, this Professor X, who's lecturing in the college scene and stuff like that. Or maybe he's more underground. Maybe there's these books and these pamphlets and things that he's been writing. So Bruce is now looking into like-minded stuff, or people that are kind of can like back up his theories. And so then he goes and Xavier's kind of giving his speech like at some college or something like that. And he says, after the whatever, can we have some coffee or whatever? And so he starts talking to Xavier, and then Xavier's like, no, you're exactly right. You're 100% right. He's like, what? He goes, I got something to show you. So then they hop in a car, cab, whatever, and they go to the Xavier school. And so then it's like, boom, like there's this whole school of mutants, and Bruce Banner's like, what the hell? How did you hide these people all this time? He's like, it wasn't easy, but with my abilities, I've been able to do this. And maybe with your help and the Avengers, we can bridge this gap, and maybe we can start coming out, into public, and maybe we can, acclimate ourselves, and maybe help people. So then the origin of the X-Men is kind of linked into into Bruce Banner. So Bruce Banner's the bridge to establish the X-Men and the mutant type aspects. And if they want to go back, they could probably, they can back explain Scarlet Witch as well. And they could say the reason the experiments worked on her and her brother and nobody else is because they had this mutant gene. So then I always liked the idea that Scarlet Witch she is magic, but she's mutant as well. So like she uses these magic spells to use her mutant abilities. So I would like to see it come back to that, because I always thought that was a cool aspect. So anyways, in a nutshell, that's my cinematic X-Men pitch. What do you think, John?
Oh, I love it. And just the way you're expressing Bruce's talking points, it sounded exactly like what Ruffalo's would do. And I'm like, wow, it sounds perfect.
I could see him doing that. I could see that actor pulling all that stuff off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The dialogue that you stated, and how he does it, how he acts it out. I was just imagining him doing that with Professor X and everything, and it's like, wow.
I think it would work really, really well in an organic kind of way to get that into the story.
Oh yeah, and then all the ideas are straight on forth uh, with bringing them in. So I would love it. I'd love to
Because
see exactly what Marvel Studios would do with the mutants themselves.
I think the
Oh,
reason it would be cool as well is because one of the things that the Marvel Cinematic Universe does really well is things kind of roll over into other storylines. Each one of the characters kind of intermingles with the other one. So it's almost like one character introduces the next character and so on to the universe. So um, I think if they did this, what they're saying is that the mutants have always been part of the Marvel universe since the inception. So
Yeah.
as soon as the cinematic universe started and they brought the Hulk into it, the mutants have always been there. They just didn't know it. So then they can claim all those years of like the 10 years that the cinematic universe has been around that mutants have been there. They just didn't know how to identify them.
Firewatcher says, Art, this idea is perfect, but it would bother a lot of comics fans. You could do it with Scarlet Witch instead.
Yeah, but I think the cinematic universe has already done a lot of stuff that's
Yeah.
non comic book continuity.
It's already
So
very different.
yeah, I mean, already just what we're talking about with Captain Marvel, like that's where we were gonna go into next is like, what the heck, like what storylines are they going to use? Like the character's kind of confused. I mean, unless they play the character up that she has all these different incarnations and all these things exist, I just don't know how they're going to streamline that character to work.
I think the best story they could tell, they already did with Star-Lord. But I wanted to kind of point something out because I was just like, I pulled something up for this exact reason, but I find it really interesting that they changed her name from Miss Marvel to Captain Marvel
Yeah.
because what happened was when she was first around, when she first became Miss Marvel, her costume was kind of just a female version of the like Marvel Captain Marvel outfit.
Marvel, yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty much just a female version of that. And they were kind of trying to push her as some kind of feminist character back then. And then a reader wrote in, I have the actual letter because this is really ironic now. And they said, the reader said, for the 11 years I've been a comics fan, I've been proud of how Marvel resisted the temptation to create male-based heroines like Supergirl. It's been proudly proclaimed that Miss Marvel is not Marvel Girl. Well, maybe the early Marvel Girl did have weak powers and an insipid personality. I don't know if that's a little harsh, but at least her powers were her powers and her personality was her personality. I hope you can change her costume if it's all possible and keep her on her own instead of associating her with the Captain Marvel. So that was when they gave her that black costume
Wait
to
a minute.
try to,
You said Marvel Girl. Who?
yeah, because they said she was not Marvel Girl. They always
Marvel
wanted
Girl
to,
from the X-Men.
yeah, they always
Okay.
wanted to make the point that Miss Marvel was not Marvel Girl
Okay.
because she was so different and they were trying to tote her as this like feminist thing. And then they said, you know, you should give her a new costume so she doesn't just seem like a female version of Captain Marvel. So they gave her the black costume and then they changed her costume back to basically Captain Marvel's outfit and they named her Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I don't.
So
That character's confusing to me.
they thought it was empowering to get rid of the Miss and name her Captain Marvel, but the whole point of having her do that was so that she wasn't Captain Marvel. So they did exactly what the fans didn't want then. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a pretty daunting task. I mean, those guys they're pretty smart over there at the cinematic universe, that part of Marvel. So I mean, they obviously have a plan, but my goodness, it seems from this point of view that this is going to get pretty confusing.
Now, Art, Spoon71, he chimed in, says, I think they will use Avengers 4 to introduce the idea of merging the Marvel Universe, bringing the X-Men universe into the Marvel Comics, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I would I would actually like to see them bring the Fantastic Four in before the X-Men, just as a Marvel purist, because that's the first family. So personally, I would like them to wait for the X-Men to where they could focus more on it and do it, maybe because you're talking about like Infinity War 2, right?
Yes.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I would rather see the X-Men get a little bit more focus, and not that the Fantastic Four wouldn't be, but I just think the Fantastic Four seem to be more cosmic based, and I think what would be fun, this is another idea, is that they've been lost in space, so just play that whole lost in space aspect up, the family, in space, and maybe use that one idea that they did. I never saw the movie, but the last Fantastic Four movie, that they were like a dimensional time, like they could travel through dimensions and stuff. So instead of just space, but dimensions, and I like that idea. That's the only
Mm.
idea I liked from all that stuff. And so maybe that they were trapped dimensionally, and so when they find them, but I guess they're playing the beat already with this Captain Marvel, because my before I knew about
Yeah.
Captain Marvel, I had the idea that they come back, but it's like they launched out in space in the '60s, so then it could date back to their origin, like their original debut in the Marvel universe. So once again, they always existed in the Marvel universe, but it was a cover up. It was forgotten about because it went bad. They never came back. So NASA and the government was like, it was so public. We're going to launch these guys out in space. They're going to colonize. They're going to do whatever. This is going to be amazing. And then they never came back. So then they just covered it up and they just tried to bury it. So then when they come back, they become the public heroes. Because you know how they're always in the comic book. They're like, they're loved. Everybody in New York just loves them. They're like
They're kind of
celebrities.
celebrities, yeah.
Yeah, they're celebrities. So I thought if they came back to the Marvel, universe, however many 50 years later, or however long it would be, that they wouldn't have aged a day. They would be the same age that they were when they launched. And then they come back and everybody's like, who the hell are these? And maybe some conspiracy wackos go, oh my gosh, this is the Fantastic Four. These are these guys that were launched out in space so many years ago. And he just happens to have some newspaper clippings and things like that existed. But he's like the only one. And so then he basically, kind of brings it back, to the public eye. And then the public eye they're like, oh my gosh, these are those guys. I remember that, And so then they embrace them as heroes and stuff. But I thought what would be cool in like the Infinity is that they find them.
Captain America might remember them actually if it's far enough back.
Captain America came back in present day though, so he would still have been frozen, right?
Oh, you're right. He would have been
Yeah.
frozen
Yes.
during that time.
Yeah, so even that would be cool though, because then even Cap wouldn't know who they were. I just think it would be interesting, and also since they're cosmic, they could possibly bring like a cosmic solution to Thanos, to the Thanos
Ooh,
problem, or
Yeah.
I
you
like this.
yeah, because they know the universe. They know, like, they've been mapping that, interdimensions and all this stuff. So they've been mapping all this stuff. So, because Reed Richards is supposed to be the smartest man in the Marvel universe. So when he comes back, he actually has a solution. Or, I mean, they can't just give him all the, the beats, but he could bring
Why not?
he could bring one of the key beats, or one of the key solutions to the Avengers anyway.
Pixel Trader says, "Hey, hey."
Hey,
I
hey.
think there's two comments here I wanted to read, but I think they feed into what I was gonna say is I think what you're saying with the Fantastic Four is kind of more interesting than the X-Men in a way, and I think also it would be easier to do in the Marvel MCU right now because Primark says that I think the X-Men work better in their own separate universe, and Firewatcher says in a world that celebrates superheroes, it makes no sense for mutants to be hated. So I think like it would be really hard to bring in the X-Men while also having what comes at the core of the X-Men, which is like them being
No,
persecuted.
no, no. The idea would be nobody knows who these are. So Xavier's hiding them, but preemptively. There's nobody out there yet that's been documented. So they've been in hiding all the way up to where Bruce. So Bruce brings them out. So then you can see all the prejudice and you can see all the hatred stuff happen during the story proper.
It would really have to be I think they would have to do it like that, where, like you said, they've been around this whole time because you couldn't just be like, oh, there's mutants now. There's no way that would work. But like, they would also have to, for a story like that, like you're saying, where they come out, like it would have to be kind of like the center of the story. Like it definitely couldn't be like a subplot or anything.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't introduce this in like in you know an Infinity War storyline or anything like that. I would actually make it an X-Men movie. I would make it an X-Men movie, but I would have Mark Ruffalo's character Bruce Banner in the movie. So it would open with him kind of figuring this stuff out, and then him meeting Xavier. So he's like the gateway. You know how like Tony Stark was kind of the gateway with Spider-Man.
Firewatcher says, yeah, but why would they hate them and not hate the other superheroes? And I think you had a theory about this anyway.
Well, because they would look messed up. They would be jacked up. And also one of the things that it would set people off if you said this was the evolution of man. If you started talking like if Xavier's like his findings in his underground writing was to see the light of day, then people would go, wait a minute, this is the next evolution. This is, you know, people would hate them just based on that alone. Like, you know, this is the evolution of man. These are the superior versions of humans.
Well, now that you mention it too, like the fact that because all the superheroes right now, besides Scarlet Witch, have control over their powers, besides Scarlet Witch and the Hulk. So if these mutants came out and it came out that, hey, also they're not in control of these powers and they're dangerous, like after what happened with Scarlet Witch, where they kind of blamed her for that incident, like that could play into that too.
And think about this: the two ones that have messed up the most in the Avengers
They'd be
have been the two
mutants.
that would have been mutants. So you have the Hulk and you have Scarlet Witch, who have done the most collateral damage.
So they wouldn't be associated with superheroes. They'd be associated with the superheroes that are out of control and dangerous.
Right.
And they've already been hated though, also through the Captain America movie. Yeah. So
well, the whole Civil War thing was because of Scarlet Witch kind of not being able to control her powers. So if it came out that she was a mutant, then that would even be more reason to hate her.
Yeah, it would just fuel it more because of that incident.
And it would be playing the beat that they've already established for both characters. Oh my gosh, this is good.
Genius.
Yeah. Now with the Fantastic Four thing that you're talking about, where they go through interdimensions and time and stuff, didn't Walt Simonson do that when he got on the run of Fantastic Four?
Oh yeah, the Rosebud, the time sled or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Would that be cool to have that in there?
Oh yeah, I don't know if they could do that Rosebud time sled because I think it was open cockpit and everything. I don't know if they could survive.
That's right.
And all that stuff, but I don't think the science of it quite works. But I think it was called the Rosebud too. But it was like a sled, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think it was even painted or colored red.
That's a little
like
on the nose.
One of those flexible flyers or whatever they call those things. Yeah, I don't know. I think the problem I see with the Fantastic Four, the idea that I threw out there is that it's similar to the Captain Marvel beat, just to bring it back to the Captain Marvel thing. And I don't know how many times Taylor talks about this all the time. It's more her. I agree with it. It's like a lot of the Marvel characters are becoming each other. So they're not that different. So they're all seemingly having like beats that are the same.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you were to bring the FF into the world this way, then doesn't it seem similar to Captain Marvel or, you know, Captain America?
Because they keep doing these beats before other characters are there. Like we talked about it, but I think the first one, I think you pointed out, like the first one was they had Tony Stark make Ultron, and then Ant-Man came about, and that beat was already taken. And then
they couldn't have Hank Pym do it. Yeah.
And then they kind of gave Star-Lord Captain Marvel's beat in this last movie, and then they're also doing this like person out of time thing like Captain America. Like they're starting to repeat the same exact things.
Well, the thing I think is amazing that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, and maybe it's the genius of these Marvel movies, but they're all the same formula. They're all the same. They will always fight a flip side of themselves. So if you think about it, especially the origin stories, they always fight like the same thing. Like, so Ant-Man fights the Wasp, who's basically just an evil version of himself. You know? the Hulk fights, the Abomination, who is just, a bad side, and then Iron Man, how many times did he fight other Iron Mans?
Every movie he fought Iron Man.
Yeah, and so I could just keep going. Like Captain America fights, the Red Skull, who's another super soldier, and then he fights Bucky, who's another super soldier. Like the formula is so like obvious when you just kind of connect dots. But
Black Panther literally fought another Black Panther, like the same suit and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But they seem to work, and they're not. I mean, they keep reinventing or trying to. I don't know about reinventing. That's not the right word, but trying to, I guess, hide the idea that they're doing that. So the formula works. So they're not changing up the formula. But I think people are going to start figuring it out pretty soon, especially if they have a bad movie. If they have a bad movie, then people are going to start scrutinizing this stuff a little deeper.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Is this going to be a Green Lantern movie?
Oh my gosh, John just cut right to the chase, man.
I'm hoping it'll be like a better version of the Green Lantern movie. But the thing is, like, everybody's saying it's Green Lantern. Yeah, it is. Like, the character is Green Lantern, just like how Ant-Man is the Atom. So you're gonna have to get over it. That's just the story.
Yeah, and Marvel, for every Marvel character, there's a DC character that's similar and vice versa. The reason, this is a little tangenty, but I really wish that Warner Brothers and DC would get their poop together, because they have, 25, 30 years of history prior to Marvel. So a lot of those icons and those templates were created by DC. So DC actually has, I think they have more of a claim to a lot of these ideas than Marvel does. But Marvel just keeps beating them to it. So by the time DC gets around to do an Atom movie, everybody's going to go, oh, it's just like Ant-Man. It's like, well, no, the Atom existed before,
Yeah. It's kind of, yeah, I mean, we talked about it too. Like, Marvel beat DC to most of these things.
And they're going to keep and continue to do it because I think they just have more drive. They just want it, they're more focused than DC is and Warner Brothers at this point.
I think Warner Brothers itself really drifted into the television and cartoon market more so than their actual cinematic big blockbuster movies. And Marvel said, hey, we're going to do it big. And they just kept driving it one after another. And they kept getting better.
Yeah, well, Marvel's using the Pixar template. So it's no wonder they're at DC. They have similar philosophies, business models. So Pixar, not so much anymore, but when it was really rolling, those movies just kept coming out, and the formulas were kind of similar. They had basic ingredients that each one of the movies had, and they just kind of kept going and going and going, no matter what. Like, they had all these movies down the pipeline that were going to be made, whether one failed or not, whether one underperformed or not, they were going to keep going. And the Marvel formula is the same way. Case in point, Iron Man 3, to me personally, is a horrible movie. It's probably my least favorite out of all the movies. I think it had some cool moments, but I think overall, I don't want to see Tony Stark being James Bond. I don't. There's a James Bond. I'll just watch, a 007, movie for that. So I just think that the only reason it succeeded is it was coming off of the Avengers. It was the next movie after the Avengers. Was it the first Avengers or the second? I don't remember which. But anyways, it was coming off of a huge success. So the reason it did well is because of the perceived success. So that's why everybody went to see it. If that movie kind of stood alone and didn't have like already this juggernaut of like this wave of success, I don't think it would have done as well. I think if it was based on its own merits, I don't think it would have done as well. And also like Thor 2. Thor 2 is like a really horrible movie. The third one is pretty cool in the first one, but that second one is like, what the heck? I don't.
It's more like bore.
Yeah, there's moments, but but that thing was still coming off the heat. So there was just this wave of success. And so people just got wrapped up into it. And I think that's the Marvel success, whether it does well or not, it doesn't matter. They're just going to keep going. Like after this Captain Marvel movie, there's going to be another movie, and there's going to be another movie, and there's going to be another movie. It isn't going to matter.
I can't believe like not more people took issue with that Iron Man 3 and the whole like crapping on its own point that it did.
Oh, he doesn't save Pepper in the movie. She actually falls to her death. If the villain hadn't injected that stuff,
She'd be dead.
she'd be dead.
Well, is that the one too where he fixes or he takes out takes out the core even though
His heart, yeah.
He took out the heart because I guess it wasn't necessary, even though the movie before he invented a new element just to keep it going. So I guess it was an option just to take it out the whole time and not deal
I think
with
that's an idea. I think they wish they had never done, because I think
horrible.
They even bring it up. I think in the new Avengers when he's talking to Pepper at the beginning.
They don't bring up how stupid it is that like he would rather invent that element than I thought there was an alternative, but whatever.
Well, I thought the element was to save his life. So if they could take out that chip, that little piece of metal that was going to kill him, if they had the sophistication to do that, then why didn't they just do that?
Exactly.
Why did he have to create this whole new mineral and everything to save his life?
And then he just gets it taken out anyway.
Yeah, and then he just gets to take it out in 3.
Nick said, RT Bear, have you seen the Teen Titan or the Titans trailer? DCU can't do anything right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's just carry this new thread. Let's just ditch this Captain Marvel stuff and go and just move forward.
We've said all we need to say about that.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a definite misstep. I don't even know. I think it's dark. I think Dick Grayson saying F Batman, and I think the overall character designs are pretty bad. And I always thought of Dick Grayson as being a hopeful Batman, not a dark, brooding guy like Bruce Wayne, but kind of a healthier version of Bruce Wayne. It's kind of like Bruce found him, and he's his father, and he raised him to be better than him, not just to fight and to do all that stuff, crime fight better than him, but also just be a better human being. So Dick can love, Dick can have relationships with people, and I don't know, the way it looks so dark and gritty and disgusting. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts about this. John, we haven't talked, but Taylor and I have. So what are your thoughts about this, the Titans? Is it out yet?
I don't think so.
Not yet. It'll be out in the next few weeks.
Okay. So what are your thoughts about the trailer?
It's following suit as their cinematic universe big movies. It's dark.
Oh.
It's all over the place, and they're just putting too much into it. I guess they're going to have different episodes with spotlighted characters. So kind of like how the Teen Titans Spotlight was with George Perez did. Because that's why they're introducing Hawk and Dove also.
Okay.
And then each of the other characters from the Titans. And every single one of those is going to be dark and probably all over the place with no real direction with it. So
yeah, my problem with dark is like and establishing a universe. I think I've said this on one of the chats, is that what Marvel did is they started in kind of a neutral, like it wasn't overly dramatic and it wasn't overly humorous. It was kind of tonally, it was right in the middle, so they could go humorous and they could go even broader than that with Guardians, and even this last Thor, they could make it broad, or they can make it very dramatic, like Civil War, or what was it? Winter Soldier was probably the most dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and the first Iron Man, I think, were the most dramatic movies that they had done. Um, so they can do that, but once you establish like a tone like DC has where it's dark, then it's dark. You can't go anywhere from that. Like if they start introducing too much humor, it's going to seem weird. It's like, wait a minute, this is a dark Watchmen type of universe, dystopian kind of, world. So it's going to really seem out of place. And then if they start, trying to bring, I guess, even just art directionally, like more of a neutral color schemes like Marvel does, then it's going to seem weird as well. So art directionally speaking and tonally speaking, they've locked themselves into a universe that is very limited. It can only be those things. It can't really be broad in a humor sense, and it can't. I guess it already is dramatic in a way, but dramatic in a way that I think is I don't know. I don't know. It's actually negative. It's not just dark, because I like dark, like The Crow and stuff. Like I like scary movies. I like dark stories, but these are like kind of like hopeless stories. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think it's like I agree with what you're saying because I think like a good example is the Nolan Batman movies. They're very dramatic, but I wouldn't say that they're like consistently dark. Because like you're saying, if something is just the tone is just dark consistently, there's no heightened drama or anything. Like you're saying, there's just kind of none of the stakes feel like they're getting any higher. Because when you start just at the darkest you can go, it feels kind of just like whatever when you try to lighten things up. Like how do you lighten things up when you're at like the darkest you can go?
And how do you make a Batman a dark movie when Superman's already dark? Like
Exactly.
where is the difference in the tones? Like they're different characters. So why would you treat Superman like you would a Batman? Like if you're going to go dark, then go dark for a character that deserves that kind of treatment. But don't go dark with a character that doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah. Um, people want to know what you think about the Shazam movie art.
Oh yeah.
I love that character. I love that character. Just my take on Shazam is I love the character. I love that it's like a Superman for younger kids. Like it's a Superman that a kid could be. So Superman's an adult, but Shazam is a kid. So you could actually become a Superman type character. And I always thought that was cool. Um, when it was Fawcett, when it was independent of DC. But then when DC brought it in, this is a problem I have with comic books in general, is everything has to fit like a universe. Like they have to turn these characters into universe characters. So Captain Marvel now has to exist in a universe that there is a Superman. He has to exist in a world that there is a Batman and a Wonder Woman. And
But is there anymore, by the way?
I don't know. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like it's just weird. Like what happens when the Justice League figure out that this is a kid? Like what the hell? We've been putting this kid in harm's way. Like that's worse than that's more irresponsible than Batman and Robin. Like it's
Superman's gonna be like, Robin died because of you, and he'll be like, you've been hanging out with the kid this whole time.
Yeah, Billy Batson's like a 10-year-old kid. Like what the
An
heck?
orphan.
Yeah, and
I don't know. Aquaman would be like, well, he kicks ass, so we're good.
We're good. Yeah. So far so good, right?
Yeah, that's the way he's toned at.
But I just think it gets into a weird place, and I think Captain Marvel. Taylor and I talk about this. Some characters work better in their own universe without a bigger universe involved. Like when the Marvel universe was created, it was created as one universe. So every one of these characters existed in the other's world. So that's why the cinematic universe works so well, because it's the template that they're just tapping into. It already existed when Stan, Jack, and and John and all those guys at Ditko, they were all doing this stuff. They all had an overview of, and they're all like New York based. I think that's a limiting idea unto itself, but
Yeah.
it connects a universe. I like the DC thing that the characters are all over the place, but the thing that DC never did as effective as Marvel did is they connected the characters in a way that works logically. And when they tell those stories, when they introduce the other characters, they all seem to fit organically. The DC stuff doesn't quite work. And then they had an Earth 1 and Earth 2, and they had a lot of stuff going on. I just think that that's the problem. So DC buys from Fawcett, they buy Captain Marvel, who's now Shazam. So then the dilemma is that somebody mandates now Shazam has to exist in the DCU. Well, how do you do that? How do you effectively, now have two Supermans, but one's a kid? How do you do that? It takes some of the innocence out of the Captain Marvel idea. It takes some of the fun out of the Captain Marvel idea. So if he exists in his own world, I think it can be pure. It can be what it needs to be. I mean, he's got like a worm. His like nemesis is a worm and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I've seen DC try to incorporate those characters into the DCU, and it's like, I know the DCU is a weird place, but I mean, that's
because it's like you see him like doing like his silly dances with his little kid friend, but at the same exact time, like there's a terrorist shooting people up in the Wonder Woman like movie, and it's the same world.
Right. And there's this dark Batman.
This is fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, but do you think this Shazam movie is going to be more lighter than the rest that has come before now?
Well, so far the trailer looks that way, doesn't it? To you guys?
Yeah. And I love Zachary Levi. I watched Chuck with him, and I think was a good choice, being playful and could play off of the kid, his best friend. So
he's my enemy.
Yeah, he may work.
He's your enemy, Taylor?
Yes, they wouldn't let me go to his party at San Diego. He had a party at the Tin Roof, and I left to go get pizza for my friends, and then they wouldn't let me in.
Zachary Levi did?
Yeah, he was there. So they shut the place down for the party, and I couldn't get in.
Oh man.
He has to make things right. We support this movie.
Hey John, you need to say the line.
What, Shazam?
No. No, your line.
That's kind of cray-cray.
Straight up cray.
I mean, kicking you out of a party? I mean, you're the party girl, aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I did leave to get food at a bad time, but darn it, they should have let me come back in.
But did you bring back drinks?
No, the funny thing is, I actually I had two friends that were inside, and I was bringing back food. I'm not blaming them; it was my decision.
Oh.
But I was like, I didn't even get to pay for my drink, and the doorman wasn't going to take that excuse.
Wait! To back up, so your friends got in the party, but you didn't?
Yeah, they stayed in because they were like, "We're going to stay in here because Zachary Levi's going to be here." And I was like, I'm going to get food. And they're like, they'll let you back in because you're on the tab with us. And I was like, okay. So I came back, and then I saw he was upstairs because they have an upstairs area. And I think they wanted to keep him away from all the riffraff. So I was I walked past the window. My friends weren't even looking. They were just turned, looking up the stairs, cheering.
They wouldn't make eye contact with you.
They could. So I'm just outside the window holding a whole pizza by myself.
That's a sad story.
So you didn't climb up the side of the building to get in, or what?
There was no Spider-Man action? There
was no way to get in there. I just had to. I ended up going to Trailer Park after dark, so it was fun. But, I missed out on the Shazam party.
Oh, that's messed up.
Next time.
But will you go see the movie?
I'll go see the movie. I'll go see it, but I expect if there's a second one of these to get into that party.
I must say, I out of all the, the Aquaman and the Shazam is the one I'm looking the most forward to. The thing I didn't like about the trailer is the design. Zachary's hair looks a little too perfect to me. It looks like it's all hairsprayed and it's
molded.
Yeah, it's all molded. So I think For me, it looks odd, and then like some of the padded muscle stuff
Yeah.
looks weird.
So his hair is molded as much as his muscles are.
Yeah, because I don't think they're fooling anybody. And
No.
in a day and age of like these Marvel movies where you have Hemsworth, holy, I never thought that they would be able to cast a Thor ever. In my wildest dreams, I didn't think there was a human being that could ever play that role. And then they find Hemsworth, and you're like, oh my gosh, like there's actually a Thor that exists. There's this, you know what I mean? That's insane. So
Yeah.
I just thought like people's expectation on these movies is pretty high. So I know that Zachary Levy or Levy or however you say his name, that he got in shape for this, but you can tell that's a padded suit.
Oh, definitely.
It's very cartoony.
Yeah. So it's kind of.
Rhaegar
Oh, go ahead.
says, I'm sorry, Rhaegar says, the only thing I dislike was the thunderbolt on Shazam's outfit.
Oh,
I
because
like
it does it
like
move
it.
or something? It like lights.
No, it glows. It glows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with it.
No, I liked it.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. I thought he meant when he gets struck by lightning in the where they're at like the carnival or
And
something.
he just keeps walking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
very casual.
So
The biggest problem I have is that like the fact that they're calling the movie Shazam, and I kind of talked about this before. I think we talked about it in another one, but like his name is Shazam, and like they're labeling the character Shazam too, so he can never say his actual name unless they start, they keep calling him Captain Marvel. It's just really weird that they're like avoiding calling him Captain Marvel in the title. I thought it was weird in the comics when they switched the comics title to Shazam.
Yeah, it's like, what's your name? And he's like, it's Shazam. Boom, boom. No, now he's Billy Batson. It's like, wait a minute,
runs away.
you're a freaking kid. Yeah. He just runs away crying, or he just tries to cover up real quick, and he goes Shazam again.
That was weird.
Did I just see this? He turned into a kid. Oh no, man, you've been drinking.
Comic Book Bob said he honestly felt maybe Shazam is going a little bit too far in the other direction, and I totally disagree with that.
In the kid kind of direction, or the dark direction.
The humor, I think.
Oh, okay.
I disagree. I think it should be a humorous. It's a humorous idea, and it's more for kids. I always thought it was designed more for kids, so more so than Superman. So
Eagle says, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Eagle says wants to know what your opinion was on the Wizard, but did we even get a good look at the Wizard?
I don't think so.
I think there is a shot of him, if I'm remembering right. I think, what I said about like Captain Marvel, I feel the same way about Shazam, which is weird, is that they both kind of have HBO sensibilities to me. They just seem like something you would watch on the small screen versus the big screen to me.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
It's also kind of like I don't know, it kind of feels like it would work as an episodic thing too.
Well, hopefully it's a success and they can do these as this like the Marvel stuff is serialized. So I think that would be cool. I would love to see the DC universe serialized, but I just think without a Kevin Feige type character or person, in charge over at Warner Brothers, I just don't ever see it happening. I think Warner Brothers is they're kind of all over the place and they don't really have that kind of focus. And to be honest, I'm not even sure that they have that kind of drive, like ambition like Marvel does, like just to keep going and just keep, movies, no matter how good or bad they are, just keep them moving forward.
Yeah, they just have too many divisions up there at Warner Brothers. Just like back in the old days where they had to, with DC Comics itself, is like, oh, it's an entity over there, but yet we're doing this entity over here with the movies back in the day, and the TV shows and such. And it's just different than what we're doing over here in the comics. And so I just think they have to have too many factions.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, because I know this for a fact that even Warner Brothers in the day had divisions. So there would be like a division that would just be Batman based. So even such a weird thing is, you remember Birds of Prey? I had friends
Oh,
that were
yes.
executives and stuff at the time, and the people that had the licensing and the film rights or whatever division that was within Warner Brothers, they only granted for the pilot episode for Batman to be in. Like they had a mandate. Like they said that you could only be in the pilot episode. So here you are, you have a comic character, who's based on his dad being Bruce Wayne Batman, and you can never reference it again, or you can never bring that up, and you can never have that character reoccur in the story. And I just think, like, how do you have the daughter of Batman and not make that the story? Like, that would be the story, wouldn't it? Like,
Yeah, because you're selling it based on that. So it's like you're kind of tricking people in a way of being like, isn't this so cool, this Batman tie-in? And then it's like, once you make that disappear because you're not allowed to, like you feel really gypped. Like, oh, I guess we can never talk about this again. This
yeah,
is kind
when's
of
Batman
weird.
going to show up? Or even like I guess they killed off Catwoman, but they
Yeah.
still could have done it in like a a flashback or something like that. But I don't think she really references her family um, ever that
But
I can
Barbara's in
remember.
it
Yeah, they Batgirl's in it, but none of the other characters.
with her silly robo legs.
So I don't know if they were just like it fell into the Birds of Prey kind of licensing. So because they're divisions. So I don't know if because they fell into the umbrella of Birds of Prey that they were able to use certain characters and not others. I really don't know, but it's a strange company that I think there's people that have not a stranglehold, but they have a certain control of certain characters or franchise elements of the universe, and don't necessarily play well with the rest of the universe. Because I do remember when I was working on Superman, and I remember a conversation between Mark Waid and Mike Carlin this is when DC was in New York, and I think Mark wanted to use Superman or Superboy in one of the stories, and I remember him talking to Mike Carlin, and so he had to pitch the idea to Mike, and then Mike had to sign off on letting him use Superman.
Mm.
Isn't that weird? Like, like
Is that just like a control thing or
I think they gave the franchise to Mike. So Mike had the Superman franchise. So then he was the caretaker of that franchise. And I don't know. You know what? Now I'm going to say this out loud. I don't know if this is good or bad, but Mike had control of it. And so if you wanted to use that character, you had to go through Mike. So I think people that were friends of Mike or whatever, Mike might have, you know what I mean? Because sometimes I think
yeah.
it's like who you know. So if you buddy up with Mike, then he's going to let you use Superman. If you're you're not quite Mike's buddy. I'm just using Mike as a reference. I mean,
Yeah, I get it. I
I'm
think
not holding anything against Mike because I don't really know the details of the whole situation. But it does seem weird that you kind of have to woo, a certain editor so you can use a character in your book.
and like you said, it could be a good thing or a bad thing because on one hand, it's like not just anyone is able to use Superman. So like not just anyone can just throw him in a story, but also like it does kind of become like a weird club situation too, where it's like you do kind of have to like woo that editor.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
not
definitely.
exactly like an open door, like you can just use Iron Man or you can use whatever character. And I don't really know how editorially these things work, to be honest, anyway. But it does seem like, from Mike's standpoint, if he is in control of a franchise, that you would probably want, you take it seriously, and you don't want anybody using that character in a way that wouldn't, that might look bad on the
Yeah.
character or on DC Comics. So, yeah, I don't know, but I guess that's just the reality of the situation. But Marvel doesn't seem to have the same issues or problems.
Rhaegar wants to know your opinion on is there hope for the DCU or do you think it needs a reboot as far as the movies go?
Oh my gosh. Personally, I thought, and I know that this is an unpopular thing, but I thought that Justice League movie um, was was a nice departure. I actually applauded what they were trying to do, and there are a lot of places where it worked for me, that the tone worked, and that it looked good, and the characters seemed hopeful, and they interacted with each other well. I thought they clearly had personality traits that they brought to the team that in time, I mean, even in the story, they kind of went after each other. I thought the Batman Wonder Woman dynamic was one of my favorites, for the tension and for them making up. So there was that scene where Batman's baiting Wonder Woman, like, you need to. He didn't say it, but the subcontext or the subtext was, you need to lead this team because I'm Batman. I'm broken. You're the hope. There's no Superman, so you're the hope. But what he realizes is that she's kind of broken too, and so he baits her, and then she I think she literally shoves him against the wall, and so then he goes off into his little chamber, and then she comes on him a little later, and he's all bruised and beat up because Superman just kicked the crap out of him or whatever that thing was, and so she realizes, like, this guy's a human. So because she's this Gal Gadot character that she can lend her heart, she can put her heart out there. It really worked because she goes over there and she sets his disconnected, or his shoulder, his detached shoulder, and she actually talks to him with heart. And then she says, "I know what you were doing over there, and you're trying to get me to lead." And then she actually says, "You're the guy." So she gives it to him. Like, if you have Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, like, how do you come to those terms? How do you say to yourself, like, who's going to lead this team? Especially in lieu of Superman, who's going to do it? And so Wonder Woman actually gives it to him at that moment, and I thought it was pretty darn cool. And I want to see more of that stuff. So that gave me hope. I think personally, a lot of the stuff that I saw that didn't work, I think was stuff that Joss Whedon was left with, things that he had to work with, which was left over by Zack Snyder. And I've mentioned on some of these chats before that I'm not a big Zack Snyder fan. I think he's a really sad, depressing guy personally, and I'm just projecting because I don't really know. I don't want to go off on the guy too much.
I don't think you're far off.
But I don't think he understands what a superhero is, because I read an interview where he says that in a nutshell, he doesn't believe in altruism. He doesn't think it exists. He thinks that everybody has an ulterior motive. And I think what a sad belief system to, like, he would never die for his wife. He would never die for his children to keep them safe. You know what I mean? That's altruism. That's like, or even a stranger. There are people, that have died to save somebody that they don't even know. Like, altruism does exist. It is a reality. There are people that do that. How do you account for the military? How do you account for soldiers? They're not all doing it for a paycheck. They're not all doing it because that's what they're paid for, or that they want to kill somebody, or whatever, cynical way you want to look at it. No, they're over there because they genuinely think that they're going to make a difference. They genuinely think that they're going to bring peace to the world. They think that they're going to defend our way of life, to the world. And that's altruism. How do you explain 9/11? My gosh, like, I don't know. I think it's just a sad kind of mindset to have. And for somebody like that to be writing and in control of the DC universe, I think it's a major misstep. I think giving that guy as much power as they did and giving him as much control as they did, I think was just a major mistake, because just based on that alone, how can you write a DC hopeful superhero? How can you do that? It's not even your belief system. And it doesn't seem like he's able to detach himself from his own belief system to write a hopeful character. So if you think about it, like, all he does is give you window dressing. He says, "Oh, the S on the chest is for hope." Yeah, but he doesn't do anything hopeful. He doesn't inspire anybody. He doesn't even save his own dad. Like, how hopeful?
Oh gosh.
How hopeful are you? You know, like that's horrible. You're a
The world wasn't ready.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just say this since we're on this subject. Okay. If I saw my dad, he was just about to die, and I could save his life. This is my dad. How could I let him die, even though he told me don't save me? I I don't know. I still couldn't watch him die. Like that's horrible.
Yeah,
That's
like
a
that's a better alternative.
Right, to not have your dad in the world anymore. And let's just back up. Let's just say Jonathan Kent was the salt of the earth. He was an amazing person. Like he was so generous to all the other farmers. He fed people. Like he was a pillar in Smallville. He was a great guy that contributed to everybody and motivated, inspired them. Well, guess what? He's not alive anymore to do that.
And then
so
the farm fails, and
yeah,
his mom is alone, and
right.
she has to start working again in a
Yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah, exactly.
It turned out so great, and then everybody knows everybody knows about Superman anyway.
Right, exactly. So my resolve was that I know people get hung up that he killed Zod, but I think based on the way the parameters that they set up cinematically, I think it had to happen because Zod was just not going to stop. So let's take that aside because I know that's a pet peeve for some. But the bigger pet peeve was that he let his dad die. I know in the mythology his dad dies, whatever, but why did we have to do it this way?
But in the
So
mythology, it's great because he dies because of something that's totally out of his hands that he couldn't prevent. Like he wants to save him and he can't because it was just natural causes.
yeah, he has a heart attack and he dies. Yeah, so then that's a great dilemma to put Superman that can save and do all these amazing miracles, but he couldn't save his dad. So let's just say let's keep that. Let's keep a pin in that, Taylor. Okay, so let's just say his dad sets up, don't save me. And let's just say his dad goes up in a tornado, right? Jonathan Kent is getting thrown around like he's getting battered. Every horrible thing you can think of what would be like to be in the in a hurricane, right? Things are smacking into him. His limbs are getting pulled tight. He's getting thrown around, and so then at that moment, as any human being would have, it's like I some people think it's God. They pray at that moment and they go, please, somebody help me. Somebody save me. They say even people that, have survived a suicide, their last thought was like, why did I do this? This was this is a stupid idea. So let's just say Jonathan's up there, right? He's getting battered around and he's like, oh my gosh, I wish somebody would save me. He's praying to God. And then he's just like, he's hoping that his son will save him because he knows his son can. So he's just hoping that his son will save him. So let's just say, Clark is Superman. He can move at the speed of light or whatever. He can move so fast no one can see him. He figures out a way not to be seen. He moves really fast. He grabs his dad, flies him over to a site where he could have been dropped by the tornado, right? But he's out of the tornado, so he's out of danger. And then he runs back real quick to join his mom and the other guys, the other people under that bridge or whatever. So then later they find the dad. And they're like, oh my gosh, a miracle happened. He was saved. He was spared. He lived through this tornado. So only Jonathan, Martha, and Clark would ever know what really happened. So then his dad has to come to Clark and say, you know what, Clark? This is what you have to do for people. Because when I was up there was nobody that was going to help me. I needed help, and it was beyond anything. Like nobody was answering my plea. I was screaming, please, somebody save me, somebody help me. And nobody came. And then you showed up. And now I'm alive. I'm saved because of you. And you could do that for so many people. So then he actually gives his son the permission, where up to that point he was like, no, you can't share your gifts. They're going to destroy you. All this cynical crap that he brings up in the story. So now he has to backpedal and say, no, you need to be Superman. You need to share your gifts with the world. You can't hide anymore because now I know what it could mean to so many people. And so, I think it shows the human side of Jonathan. Like he was trying to protect his son in a way that he thought, but then realized at that moment that that's not the way to go. And that's a very human moment. And then, he gives his son permission to go be Superman. And that's guidance. That's how I always thought Jonathan and Martha were. They supported him. They kind of raised him to be a good person, to do the right thing. And so
Yeah, yeah, his human side.
yeah, and so then he gives, Jonathan says, I was wrong. You're not going to be a farmer like me. You have a bigger calling. Go be Superman. Or, I'm just nutshelling because Superman didn't exist then, but you know what I mean? He just go save the world. Go do that.
Yeah, gives me
Yeah.
goosebumps.
Yeah, go do what you're meant to do.
Yeah, and you
know.
could still use that cynical Zack Snyder idea, but that's the hope twist, like where he actually goes and he finds his calling.
It
Because
changes the world, even if the
yeah,
world's cynical.
yeah, even though the world was saying no, I don't want your help, but they need his help.
And that's hope.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
See, it can be fixed, or not anymore because the movie's already done.
We gotta get art on the reboot. So.
But I think, like, I don't know. I mean, that stuff just upsets me because I've been reading this stuff since I was 5-6 years old, and
Same.
the DC universe, more so than the Marvel universe, I always thought was a little bit. And this is not good. I don't mean it this way, but it was a little more childlike. It was a little less sophisticated. It was a little bit more black and white, where the morality.
Support Black and White. Use the link in the description.
Yeah, use the link in the description.
Nice plug. Yeah.
We're working on it, man.
Indiegogo, babe. Come on, we'll get it, guys. Indiegogo.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a more innocent universe. Maybe that's a better way to say it. It was a more innocent universe, so the morality was more clear cut. And I always liked that about the DC characters a little bit more so than the Marvel. The Marvels was a little bit more, there was a little bit more cynicism. There was a little bit more real world aspects. So I always thought like the DC universe was always more hopeful. It was more idealized. Like the characters got along a little bit better, all those things, where the Marvel stuff is based on a little bit more tension. And I just wish that instead of DC, I always thought fundamentally DC's problem. DC as a company don't embrace what makes them great.
Yes.
They don't embrace why they're original. They don't embrace why they're cool. And they always seem like they just want to be Marvel. And Marvel's Marvel. Let them be Marvel. But the cool thing about DC too, unlike Marvel, is they have a legacy idea that's in place. So I have my own personal views on legacy characters, like like Robin, or like Speedy, I guess. Green Arrow's Ward, I guess they called him, and like Wonder Girl and all those other characters. But they have that where Marvel really doesn't, because I know that Stan Lee didn't like sidekick characters. He didn't like Bucky and things like that. And he has a point, because you're putting those characters in harm's way. It's like an adult putting a child in harm's way. But like I said, the DC stuff was a little bit more innocent. It wasn't as cynical. It didn't scrutinize their realities to that extent. And so I thought, let's just take it at what it is. There's these legacy characters now. And so you have like a natural succession to Bruce Wayne, and Batman. You have Dick, but Dick is also a better version of Bruce. You know what I mean? So the next Batman will be even better, and you don't ever have to get to that world, but just setting it up the way it is set up, it just remind people that Dick will eventually be Batman, and they have played at it, and I think that's great. And he'll eventually be that guy, and then that next Robin will be that legacy. He'll be Batman, and so on and so on. And then maybe even like what I would play up, just thinking about it right now, is that there'll even be a legacy Nightwing. So, you go from the child character who's Robin to actually a legacy Nightwing to a legacy Batman. So then there's kind of like the three parts of growing up, the three aspects of aging. So you have child, you have teen, early 20s, and then you have, an older, mature person. So then they can cover all their bases that way. But, and also they have Atom, which I believe in a lot of ways is a way cooler version, or a way cooler shrinking character than Ant-Man. And what Ant-Man did that I don't believe is in the normal mythology is that Ant-Man couldn't manipulate his weight. He could only shrink to the size of an ant. Like, there's all this microverse and stuff that they're playing on. that's getting into the atom aspects of it. That's not part of the original Ant-Man. Ant-Man was just an ant-sized guy.
Yeah.
So his cool aspects was that he could fly around on ants, and he could summon ants. So that was the cool part of that character. But now they have this whole microverse, and that he can shrink to the size of like a small molecule and all this other stuff, which I just don't think is part of the character. But once again, I think Marvel wanted to beat DC to the punch, so they've already claimed that as theirs. But there's one aspect of the Atom that I thought was always the coolest, is that he could manipulate his weight. So if you have this thing the size of a micron or whatever, he could come at you with the weight of 50 pounds or whatever it is. So you would never see it coming. So he could be the coolest stealth character ever to exist, and a powerful character too, because he doesn't even need the strength of Superman, because if he could come and get the element of surprise, he could knock any normal human being out, or even figure out a way to take down a superpowered character, because that superpowered character would never even know he was there. So I like that aspect of it, and also that I like the aspect that that Marvel's going to do, and they're doing it now, but that DC should have done it, and they should have beat him to it, is that the that the Atom can exist in two different realities. So there could be a microverse, and there could be a whole universe that exists within our universe that Marvel's going to play up. Definitely, they've already set it up. But I always thought it worked more with the Atom, because I thought that's he can become the size of an atom. That's pretty tiny. That's a building block for all of everything. So
also, the Atom's a cooler name.
The Atom's a cooler name, and also the Flash can vibrate through molecules and stuff. I'm sorry. The Atom could just pass through anything. There's no solid object that he couldn't pass through, because all he'd have to do is become small enough that everything would just become intangible. So the strongest metal to him wouldn't be that strong at all, because he could just walk right through it or fly right through it. Because once you get small enough, it's just vibrating molecules, and he could just pass right through it. So I always just use your imagination. He's a crazy cool character. I know that he gets written off as like, oh, it's lame, but I always thought he was a pretty cool character. Maybe it's because I'm a short guy. I don't know.
Same here.
But
Me too.
Yeah, should we try to wrap it up, you guys?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. But unless anybody has some other questions, you guys have been really cool in the chat today. I wanted to thank Primark. He's been our moderator this session. He's been posting the Indiegogo link in the chat this whole time. So thank you, Primark. I think has he earned a frog buck, do you think?
Yeah, just send me your address, and I'll send you out a frog buck.
So we're $90 away from 15,000.
That's
it? Oh my
it?
gosh.
Oh my, yeah, and the stretch goal starts at 15, so we can unlock.
So close.
We can unlock that today.
What is the coolest tier?
I think it's for me. I think it's the '90s jam. Yes. So there's the '90s package. I think we only have 50 left, and it's got the original '94 Ashcan. It's got the Extreme Image trading card that was in the set of trading cards. Of course, that's black and white. We have the original postcards that, for every letter that would come in, we'd write these postcards, and we'd send them off as a thank you to everybody that supported black and white. So we have some of those. So they're actual postcards. They got the printed back, where you can fill it out with the addresses and stuff like that. And then we have Pogs, which is is pretty cool.
Let the Pogs rain.
You have a slammer in there?
There's a slammer in there too, my friend. So you could play the whole game if you wanted. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
And all those things are they're limited. So if you guys get them in this tier, you're getting the last of them.
Yes, and yeah, there's no more that exist after this. And I think in this tier there's a mini print that is only exists in that tier, and there's a special thanks in the book, right, Taylor?
Yes. There's special thanks in the book you can get in that ultimate tier.
And then there's a shout out on the chat here as well. So we'll read your letter, and we'll shout out. Say, hey buddy. Hey buddy, thanks for supporting the Indiegogo.
Yeah, so I think the other really cool tier is the appearance tier, actually.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's I think I don't know if it's our most expensive one, but it's up there. There's a tier where you get to it's called Can You Take a Punch? And basically in the comic there's a scene, spoiler alert, where Whitney punches an orderly in the face who's trying to stop her from leaving the institution that she's stuck at. And you can be that orderly. If you get that tier, you get your likeness in the book as that orderly. And he appears in 2 pages and I think 4 panels.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, you're
Wow.
right. I'm looking at this. I just refreshed. So yeah, 14, 9, 10. So yeah, we're only 90 away from the stretch goal.
And then you get
So
the Pamela signature.
yeah, you get the Pamela signature, and also the next stretch goal just starts at I think they're in 5K increments.
Yeah,
Yeah,
20,000.
yeah. So then you get the upgrade, which is the square bound. I don't know if you guys are like me. I put my comics on like a bookshelf. So I like the spine aspect, so then you can see it.
Oh.
You can see what the book is. So it'll have a square bound, so then you'll be able to read, what it'll say black and white on the spine and everything. So that's a cool little perk. And then the next one is what I really, really, in my heart of hearts, hope that if nothing more, that we can get to the 30K, because that's the extended story. So Taylor and I have a bunch of extra pages that we already have. We have some layouts for, but we definitely have them all written out.
Yeah.
So we're really hoping that we can get to that, so we can fulfill that. So I'm not sure how many pages are there off the top of my head. I would say there's going to be at least 6 new pages, if not more. It all depends on what the story calls for, but it's definitely going to be a lot more content and brand new content that wasn't in the original. So I just want to wrap it up by saying thanks, guys. I really, really appreciate you tuning in, listen to us babble. I hope you guys like our new addition, which is John Davies. John is incredible. He's a great friend and a great ally, and it's weird. You go through life and there's certain people you meet, like me being fortunate enough to meet Taylor and John, and then you just kind of realize that now you're on this journey with these people, and then you just think about it, and it's like, you know what, I'm really glad these people are in my life. This
Aw.
is a fun journey. Like
Thank you.
I can't think of anybody else that I'd rather be going on this journey with. I look at I'm a weirdo. I tell my daughter this too, and I tell my wife, it's like life is an adventure, man. Let's just go out and just expose and this is gonna sound weird. Not expose ourselves in that way, but to different things, unique things, new friends, and never forget old friends as well. And John is an old friend, and I guess John and I even predate our most recent history, and then Taylor is a newer addition to my life, but great nonetheless. So and then all you guys with this YouTube, I know we're probably not the most professional, and I know this is probably a little crude at times, but I'm having a ball talking with you guys. I think Taylor and John are as well. Are you guys?
Oh,
Yes.
Yes.
And thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
absolutely.
My sentiment isn't going to be that sweet, but I agree, Art. Likewise.
So what do you have, John? Are you tearing up right now? Did
Quite a bit. Quite a bit. Well, both of your and my perspective on life is aligned. I've always felt that way, that life's an adventure, and we need to take and look at every step of it and enjoy it, take it in. And those that are surrounding us need to be on that journey with us and enjoy it, as much as we can, as with them as they are with us.
Exactly. So like with this show, that hopefully they're getting just as much out of it and having just as much fun as we are doing
It's
it.
hope.
And yeah, it's hope. And even with the comic books and stuff that we do, we're hoping that they'll get just as much joy and excitement as we do. So I'm getting really mushy, so I should go before I get too overly mushy here. But yeah, thanks guys for all the support. I really, really appreciate it. And we're gonna wrap this up. So thanks, John. Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you, Art.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.